In 2016, the state of California passed we call Global California 2030, which in 2030 we need half of our students become bilingual and biliterate. And also we passed another prop called Prop 58 to increase the availability of any bilingual programs, whether it's classroom, experience, or offering. And the dual language is one of the main programs that we offered as part of that initiative to support Prop 58 as well as Global California 2030. The Armenian population is the second largest English language learners in our districts, and we thought that that was, instrumental for us to provide these programs that help support the Armenian development language as well as English language for our students. So it's one of our master scheduling offering as part of the dual language. We have a total of 5 schools. We have Kittredge Elementary, we have Mountain View Elementary, we have Sedecoy Elementary, and then we have 2 middle schools, Mount Gleason and Madison. Most of our programs are what we call 50-50, which means we teach 50% Armenian and the other 50% English language learner. So basically, the students learn Armenian academic language in multiple subjects, social studies, science, and math. They learn it both in English and they learn it both in Armenian. And hopefully the students, as the research has suggested, that they are going to develop both Armenian and English at the same time. And hopefully they'll become more successful. And then maybe our teacher can explain more details as how the day goes and how the configuration program can be.
We do part of the day in Armenian, part of the day in English, and we always calculate the time that it's 50% to make sure that each language gets the same amount of instructional minutes. Then we start with one language, then we end with another one. Then sometimes we might switch to make sure that each morning we start with one. Each morning is the same for a couple of weeks. Then we use materials from Armenia, the same workbooks, the same textbooks that they use in Armenia. We order them through the district, and then once we get them, we have the curriculum. We are developing the curriculum, and based on the student needs, we always differentiate it. That's mostly the materials we use, and I want to mention that a lot of our teachers always come up with their own ideas of developing new materials. They share it together so we can decide what is going to be taught in each grade level and in each specific time period.
Part of the curriculum depends on the standards for world language and culture, where we emphasize the role of culture. So we teach product, perspectives, and practices of the culture. And we do teach academic language, but we also teach real life application of the language. So all the materials that we, teach the students are actually materials that have been used in the target language, as such as Armenia. And then we take that and we create lessons around it so that it's meaningful for the students and their family. And it's not just like for education reason, but digging deeper into the language and into the characteristics and to the real culture itself, because that's what we want the students to feel and to be proud of. We have a system called Unified Enrollment, where we advertise for the dual language program. It's similar to magnet programs, and parents elect to apply for the program, and then they apply through the Unified Enrollment portal, and then the schools get to select the students from the portal, and then they become part of the program. They become part of the Armenian dual language program. Well, the enrollment starts as early as the first semester, but there's like late enrollment as well. So it continues throughout the year, and then the students are able to always apply for the program, and their name gets to the school, and then the school gets the applicant's name, and from there they select the students that they're going to be accepted into the program. Thank you so much for asking this question. We did experience shortage in Armenian teachers. Then there is some kind of flexibility that's given to dual language programs, especially the less commonly taught languages such as Armenian, Arabic, and so on. So applications now do have some kind of a modified criteria that HR looks into. So applicants can apply, and then a special staff in HR communicates directly with the applicants and guides them through what are the criteria is, and it's different because sometimes there are some some criteria that could be fulfilled through the degrees that they get from Armenia. And then some they need to get from the educational system here. So it depends on each individual case, and that's what the HR goes through. Like, what are your criteria? This is the criteria of the state. This is what you have. This is what you need in order to get the credential. But we did get a shortage. We by word of mouth, we were able to advertise, and we had collected few applications, but we're hoping with a good PR we'll be able to invite more Armenian students and more teachers. We really want to increase the availability of our Armenian program. We belong to a department called Multilingual and Multicultural Education Department, and it oversees all the English language learners as well as a dual language program. And our executive director, Lydia Acosta Stevens, had placed specific emphasis on training the teachers. So they get training throughout the year, and then a specific summer institute gets offered to them where we train them specifically on skills that they need, especially for Armenian language. And part of Region North, we also offered something called vertical articulations, where we invited our Armenian teachers to look at their curriculum and articulate the skills and knowledge needed. So we offered an additional training for our teachers during this year. So they get throughout, but they get a very, very, very intensive training during the summer. Specifically, if you are a new teacher, you get 5 days of full days of training, where you get details, information about how the program is. We invite veteran teachers, we invite experts in the field, and we train the teachers specifically. It's not like all the language are crammed together. No, we have specific training for every single language, because every single language has its characteristics, and we tailor our training based upon these characteristics and how the instruction is going to take place in the classroom.
Family involvement is huge in the dual program, because the majority of the kids are from Armenia. So 99% probably are from Armenia and from Armenian families. And as you know, our culture, we are very involved in our kids' education. So throughout this experience that I had in dual immersion program, all of my families were very involved, always trying their best. I had families who couldn't write in Armenian. They would, especially during pandemic when I was teaching on Zoom, they would sit together with their kids and try to learn the language, how to read and write. I had quite a them, so it was an interesting experience. Besides that, they always tried to help and support with anything they can. We had parents who would travel to Armenia in summer and would bring us books and instructional materials. They would just contact us and they would ask, what do you need? So we would come up with some ideas. They would bring even more than we wanted. I think the family involvement is a great part of the dual program.
There are multiple benefits that we identified as benefits of dual language. First of it being brain and cognitive. We know that students who are bilingual and biliterate, they usually, have more ability to think and, to to articulate. Their cognitive abilities are proven in research to be well beyond the just one language. There is also very good research that suggests that there is an increased academic performance for students who are bilingual and biliterate. And students are able to articulate advanced language skills and eventually earn what is part of the part of the California 2030, which is the state seal of biliteracy. And what does that give the students? The ability to stand out in their college application and to be able to enter prestigious universities that usually look at students with unique academic portfolios. And of course, we don't have a lot of students who have the Armenian in their portfolio. So definitely that gives them an edge and that gives them an advantage over other students. And then other benefits such as economic, competing in the career, being bilingual, they have more opportunities, cross-cultural competency when they go abroad and they're able to communicate with other people from other countries. And then most importantly, and the one that's of my favorite, stronger family and heritage connection. How is it beautiful to be able to communicate with your grandma? We had a student who got tested for Armenian, and then the mom invited her family to watch her daughter, who's in kindergarten, to take that test. And they were just like the emotions and the eyes were like looking at that daughter, and they can see that she's going to continue to grow and learn about the language and the culture.
And I want to mention that overall multilingual education provides many benefits, ranging from personal enrichment to improved employment prospects. It is a valuable skill that can help individuals of any age to thrive in today's interconnected world.
I wanted to chime in and share a couple of pieces of information to piggyback on what they said. The purpose of LAUSD's dual language program is to support English learners, and research shows that is the fastest way for our students to reclassify when they are able to have their home language validated and affirmed, and to build and bridge them to the English language. And we also value the culturally and linguistically relevant pedagogy and text for all of that. And as we all know here, research shows that learning more than one language, it builds more pathways to the same information with the neurons, and I think that is the base of it. With regard to our enrollment, all of our current Armenian dual language students do come from the Armenian culture. However, many of them are English only, and they tend to come from families who don't necessarily have it as their home language, but the parents want them to be able to have that option. And they are very key because our English learners whose primary language is Armenian, what we know is when we have reclassified fluent English proficient students, they are the highest scoring student group. I also wanted to mention that as we grow our program at the two middle schools, they are going to continue, and we have identified Verdugo Hills High School that will be the pathway to offer the high school for the Armenian program from Mountain View on to Mount Gleason. And with Madison Middle School, we have a large number of newcomer students that are going to be able to start in middle school in the program that they opened this year. So there's a new entry point that doesn't have to be kindergarten. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was in 2018, what was Local District Northeast, that is part of Region North, got a grant from the Carnegie Foundation that we were able to offer a 3-year program for teachers in dual language. And it took them through an improvement science journey where they were able to learn about improvement science and engage in a PDSA cycle, the Plan, Do, Study, Act, where they were able to get formative data before and after instruction and implement instructional practices and measure its effectiveness. And that proved to be so successful. We pivoted in the pandemic, and it turned into supporting and many of our Armenian teachers with 21st century technology skills that were so needed. And it was a frustration, but they came back that first day that we stayed home, and they said it was very important. And they have those resources as well. We continued after the grant, And we had local district PD that was offered for those teachers to continue that every year, any that were able. And then I'd also like to mention that we have Title III coaches at those schools. Mountain View is the only one currently that doesn't have one, and it is, but they have had one in the past, and the support and the differentiated PD that's offered at the school site level has been instrumental in supporting the teachers as they move forward. And so there's something for everyone with regard to recruiting teachers, whatever level they're at. I encourage them to reach out because the program is growing and we will need more of it.
Biggest challenge is actually to find teachers. The program is, practically new. I mean, it's been like there for a while, but it's kind of new in terms of not a lot of people know about it, and most of the challenges are, finding teachers. Also creating materials as we go along. So, we're opening classrooms. Like we have 6th grade, we have 7th grade, and then 8th. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to have Armenian in high school. So throughout these, every single year, we have to create a level for the Armenian students. We have to create materials. We don't want just to bring any curriculum. We want to get a top-of-the-line curriculum, and that's what we focus on. We brought in International Baccalaureate, which is a program that we have in our district. And we were taking these textbooks in order to create materials that align with our standards and align with our education system here in the U.S.
The most challenging issue for now is hiring more teachers who can teach the Armenian curriculum. But I also think that some of the challenges we can overcome as a group of teachers, trying to work together, and because it's a work of heart. So we put our hearts in it, and we spend days and nights, and we get a lot of support from our administration. We get a lot of support from families. So I'm just encouraging all Armenian people who are really interested or somehow interested in teaching in the little program, just go for it. It's fun. It's all about love.
We have generations of teachers that are teaching in the Armenian program, and we need more teachers that are coming from Nune's generation. And I also just wanted to mention that there are a lot of teachers who speak Armenian and come from Armenian homes, and they maybe never entertained the idea of working in a dual language program. Maybe they don't have their bilingual authorization, and I encourage them to reach out and find out there are new pathways to get an emergency credential, and I think they'd be surprised at the value of the knowledge and the skills that they have, and that there is a place for them even though they didn't set out to necessarily work in a dual language program. Because as Nada said, we are working from kindergarten to high school. We're about halfway through, and once we get it in the K-12 system and a spectrum, we will have a comprehensive program that hopefully will continue to perpetuate itself. But we are still building, and with the help of teachers like Nune and other teachers out there, I think that it'll be a really strong program and unique to the United States and California.
We just hope that we increase our enrollment. So we're calling for all the Armenian community to enroll their students in our top-of-the-line dual language program. And I say it with all confidence. Mm-hmm. We put a lot of effort. We put a lot of heart into it and a lot of love too. So we would like to call the Armenian, community to help support by enrolling their students, and to also help support us by creating teachers from these programs, just like what we did with Arabic. We created students who graduated, became TAs, and now they're thinking to become teachers. So we want to create that pool. So we hopefully want more enrollment and more teachers to come into the program. It's something that we are very, very, very proud of, and we're something that we're going to support always.